Ganer Cooks. Today's episode I'm going to be making something that's really close to my heart. It's my grandmother's cabbage roll recipe. My mom every New Year will make cabbage rolls for us with black-eyed peas as a sign of luck for a new year, and I thought it'd be a good idea to make this special recipe with all of you so that we can have luck as we're moving through this situation together. So the few things that we're going to need to make this recipe are pretty simple. We're going to start with ground beef and rice. That's going to go inside the cabbage rolls. I'm pretty confident that you can make this with some kind of meat alternative. I've never tried that before, but I do think this recipe would probably work with that. For our purposes, we have 1 pound of ground beef and 3/4 of a cup of rice. If you were cooking for a bigger family, I might recommend 2 pounds of ground beef and a full cup of rice. Next up, we have our spices. We're going to have cayenne pepper, black pepper, salt. We're also going to have thyme, which I got from my garden. 1 onion. I generally like the Vidalia onions or yellow onions. Whichever you find or whichever one you have lying around will work just fine. We're also going to need 1 lemon. This is going to go in our sauce that we're making for the cabbage rolls. What we're going to make with our sauce is going to be, we're going to have some creamy tomato soup. I got 2 different varieties of it because that's what they had. You can use the condensed soup as well and kind of break that down with some water. So the centerpiece of everything is going to be this head of cabbage. The cabbage rolls are going to hold everything together. So we want to make sure that we have something that has nice leaves. I'll quickly explain the equipment that we're going to be using. We're going to be using a large pot, something big enough for your cabbage to be able to get boiled into. We're going to use our cast iron pot that has a lid on it, but you can use really anything that you can put a lid on, or you can use something like a deep baking dish and cover it in something like aluminum foil. That'll probably work as well. But what we're going to be using today is going to be our cast iron pot with the lid. Next up, you're going to want a thinner baking dish. All we're going to be doing with this dish is putting a bunch of ice cubes in some water. So once each of the leaves of lettuce is perfect, we're going to pull it out and put it on that so that it immediately stops cooking. And the final thing we need some kind of bowl to mix in our sauce. So the first step is we need to get a big pot full of water. And we're also going to add some salt to it. The first step in making the cabbage rolls is we need to blanch the cabbage. I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. This is probably the trickiest part of the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to core out this base right here. Take the sharp end of the knife and we're going to stick it into the cabbage. We're just trying to get the core out of this cabbage so that when the leaves are in the water, they're going to fall out. That is perfect. So I've got some tongs and I'm ready to drop the cabbage into the boiling water, like so. As the cabbage starts to boil out, the leaves will start falling off. That's why we cored the cabbage in the first place. With each piece of cabbage, we're going to throw it onto that ice. What we're trying to do is to stop the cooking process. What we're looking for in the cabbage is we want it to be able to bend and easily roll around the meat. We're going to be cutting this part of the cabbage off. It's going to be a little bit too crispy and it's going to be kind of harder to roll it without that. But we want the leaves to be bendable, but we don't want them to get too cooked to where they're mushy. Once you've got enough leaves to fill the amount of meat and rice that you have, you should probably have just about a little core of the cabbage left behind. We're going to save that and let it cool down. We're going to cut that up and that's going to go in our mixture as well. All right, everybody, you're in luck. The hard part's over. Now all we have to do is just cut up some stuff and throw it together, make our rolls, and boom, we're going to put it away. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to take the core that was left over of the cabbage and we're going to chop this up into really, really tiny pieces. Then we're going to take our onion and do the exact same thing with that. So the base of our stuffing is going to be ground beef. We're using 1 pound of ground beef. And to that, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of rice. After we've added our rice, we're going to add our vegetables and our seasonings to the mixture. So we're going to throw the chopped cabbage in with our ground beef. Now that we've minced these onions, we're going to add it to our stuffing mixture. What we're trying to do is, as best as possible, we're going to get the leaves off of the stem. And that way we could chop up this thyme. Once we chop up the thyme, we're going to throw it into our mixture. We're going to put in about 2 tablespoons of garlic. We're going to add about a teaspoon of our red cayenne pepper. It's going to give a really nice color. We're also going to add about a teaspoon of black pepper. Then we're going to add salt. I'm going to put about, I'll put about a tablespoon of salt into this. Now I'm going to throw in about half of this can of the tomato soup. We're going to have some of the tomato soup in there in that mixture to kind of blend those flavors together. But I'm going to put half of a can of this. If you have a smaller can or something like that at home, you'd put a full can. We're not going to do a close-up of me mixing the stuffing together because it is going to look kind of gross. But the next step, we're going to mix up everything in this and we're going to make the stuffing for the cabbage rolls. This is the glamorous part of cooking. Just feels really gross, but it's going to taste good. All right, now we're going to make our sauce. So we're going to cut up a lemon. We're going to use the juice of a full lemon. I'm going to throw in the other half of our condensed soup into this sauce. And I'm also going to use a more bougie version of Pacific Foods organic creamy tomato soup. You can use anything that you have available to you at the store, any kind of tomato soup. We're going to add the juice of a full lemon. Next, we're going to add up more garlic. We're also going to add some thyme to this. We're going to mix this whole thing up, and this is going to be the sauce that we're going to put at the base of our cabbage rolls. With anything you're making, as long as you're keeping your hands clean, you should really taste this stuff. Try it out to see if it's any good. I've heard a few people who have said to me like, "Oh, I hope it's good. I don't know. I haven't tried anything." You kind of have to try things as you're going along. Okay, so I'm going to try the sauce and see how we're doing. Okay, tastes really good, but it definitely needs some spiciness to it. So I'm going to throw in some cayenne pepper and some black pepper. We're going to really, really elevate the heat on this. Again, that's our family. If you like it a little bit more mild, this will probably be perfect just like it is.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And should be good. Now that our sauce is ready to roll, we're going to be cutting out the stems. Sorry, I just flicked off the camera. We're going to be cutting out the stems of our cabbage. This way, see, this bends really, really well, but this doesn't bend that well. So we're going to cut out a V shape here, removing the toughest part of the stem. That way we can bend all of this around really nice and easily around our stuffing. But all we're going to do is make a nice V shape on each of these. Make sure that if you're using scissors or something like that, that you clean the scissors. You don't want to get glue or some kind of papier-mâché in your cabbage rolls. So now that we've got our cabbage leaves ready to go and our stuffing, both are ready to go, so we're going to make our cabbage rolls. So we're going to take our cabbage leaf and we're going to add about a handful or so of our mixture at the bottom. Now that we have it at the V, we're going to roll up from the V that we've created. Roll it up just like a burrito. Then we're going to fold it over and we're going to place it fold side down on our cutting board, and eventually we're going to place it fold side down in our pot. This is the kind of thing that you want to maybe bring in your kids or your partner to help you, or else it's going to take twice as long to do it alone. So after every layer of sauce, I'm going to add another layer of our cabbage rolls. This might be the last layer. Let's see if I can fit it all in. One last one. And then I'm going to cover it all in a final layer of our sauce. Now that everything's ready to roll, I'm going to cover it up and add it to our oven. What we're looking for here is we want our rice to cook all the way through and expand. So 2 hours will probably do it for this pot. Our oven's preheated at 350. And we're going to add this to the oven. So after a couple of hours, the rice should be cooked. And the cabbage will be tender. So we're going to take this out of the oven. And that is perfect. I'm going to be serving these cabbage rolls just like my mom did, with black-eyed peas. I know right now what we're looking for is a lot of love and a little bit of luck. And that's why I made my grandmother's cabbage roll recipe. My mom dictated it to me over the phone, and I'm so thankful that she did, because it's going to be a really, really good meal. In times like these, whenever we're all very uncertain, the thing that we can be very certain about is that you are capable of making a delicious meal for you and your family. And it's the kind of thing that I think right about now we can all use, which is working together and making sure we get through this together. I hope you try this one. If you have any questions about the recipe, please shoot me a comment in the link below. If you have something that you want me to make next, let me know, and I'll try it out the next time I go to the grocery store in a week or so. With that, I hope you all take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy good food.
Doesn't quite work, but
Put some music over this, because... What's that called right there?
That's what you call a happy plate.
Why do we call it a happy plate?
Because I'm happy and I ate all.
And how long do you think it took you to eat all of it?
This took me about 15 seconds.